Welcome, my gorgeous friends on the internet.
And welcome to Yoshi's Nation. Hello there.
Hello.
And a big bite there. We're going to do a talking episode today just for fun because we want to talk a bit about what goes on in the creative animation course, ultimate animation course, and how we put it together, and also a bit about what we've been doing and learning so far, and one of them is being svelte. So it's going to be really exciting. Let's get into it, shall we?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about what inspired us to start the ultimate animation course. So what did? I was going to put you on the spot. So we were pretty much we're very big on animations. We love it, right? It's probably one of our favorite things to do with websites. It's always when we get to animations, we are really excited. So yeah, pretty much just searching stuff up on the internet and not really finding a good comprehensive course out there that covered animations in depth. If you go on Udemy or pretty much any other course platform, you're not really going to find a full-on JavaScript animation course, right?
Yeah.
Like if I
was going to keep talking, but then you were like, and I think if you're new to coding, you don't really think about animation. You focus on like the logic more and understanding the syntax and things like that. So once you've learned how to code and you can build things out, your portfolio can be a little bit static. Well, mine was anyway. Yeah. So animation's just really exciting because if you look on awards or Dribble or anything, they all have movement. They all have
heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, the dog wants outside.
The dog agrees. He's watching us. You're putting me off, Yoshi. Yeah, so if you look at websites like awards or Dribble, you'll see all the best ones. They're filled with animation and movement. And I think with, how users use the internet.
I'm already out of breath.
Because I was chasing it.
Yeah.
I've got asthma.
Like you said, it's so heavily animation focused, but not only that, it feels more like the design and animation is like 90% of them. Like that's the main focus on those websites, which, hey, it makes it stand out. So that's the key, right? I
think people have really short attention spans these days. So when you go onto a website, if it's not that impressive, there's a lot of competition out there. So I don't think you can really build stuff without including animation or having something that makes it a bit more interactive to the user. Yeah, absolutely. So again, focus on animation and focus on your design. I think that's a key aspect if you want to be number one. If you want to be number one. But I really think that programming isn't enough for you just to know code. I feel like you have to know at least a bit of design and animations and kind of other, creative aspects of... Yeah, I think you need to be a person with ideas, right? Yeah. Everything else is just tools. So code, whether you're using React or whatever it is, I don't think you need to focus on nailing that and knowing every single corner of it because it's all there on the internet. There's lots of courses that can help you along the way. But if you have a vision, I think you'll be successful. I feel like I like to compare it to as if you're a game developer on your own, right? It's not enough for you to be able to program the game. You need to know a bit about like what goes into adding a good soundtrack and sound effects and art style, right? And stuff. Again, if you're working in a large team, that doesn't really matter. Then yes, you could focus mainly on programming and let other people do the design, just like in game dev, right? You could be the programmer and let someone else create the assets for you and stuff like that. But if you're on your own and you want to put something great together, I do feel like you need a little bit of everything. Yeah. But then I would also say, like, if you are more of a logical person, you're not really design focused, I wouldn't say tough luck. It's gonna suck. Tough luck. I'd say like you can learn design skills as much as you can learn how to do the coding as well. So it's just a case of going to develop by Ed and buying some courses. Be creative.
No, but it's really a common misconception of people thinking that you can learn design and like you just don't have an eye for it, and that's absolutely not true.
It's like people who say they can't draw and they'll just refuse to, you know?
Or singing, yeah.
Or singing. You can't sing. You can't learn singing.
Yes, you can.
This is a PJ, personal joke.
So next up, we want to talk a little bit about kind of the course structure and how we thought about putting everything together. So starting off, the course starts with the basics of animations. So we cover a bit of CSS in there, a bit of like how to toggle a class, how to add keyframes and stuff like that, which is, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily use it except for maybe like toggling a class. That's probably one of the big ones that you still use everywhere in frameworks or whatnot. But that's about it. Other than that, I don't think we ever use keyframes in CSS, do we? No. Yeah. So that's it.
I think if you're, a beginner, you need to know about these little things.
Yeah.
You might come across them and be, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's good to have like an understanding of it, but not necessarily putting it into practice. So next up, the first project that we built is a cookie pop-up.
Yes.
So that one I feel like is a great introduction to GSAP, because that's one of the main, not frameworks, but libraries that we use out there. And I saw a couple of comments, which I do want to point out, of people saying like, oh, well, this doesn't need to use JavaScript at all. You can do it in CSS. And that's correct. I mean, you could argue that for pretty much everything on the web. But I feel like a lot of people might not know the advantages of using GSAP. And one of the big ones is cross-browser compatibility. So especially animations like transforms and translates and all those transform origin stuff, if you're just using plain CSS, they behave in such weird ways depending which browser you're using. So GSAP takes care of all of that, going all the way back to Internet Explorer. So I think that's a great advantage. So rest assured, if you make an animation and it looks great on Chrome, it's gonna look the same way in the rest of the browsers, completely identical.
I'd also say if you do think you can do it in CSS rather than GSAP.
GSAP.
I'd say if you do have the opinion that CSS would be better than GSAP after doing the course, maybe just try and do some of it, and then I think you'll see the benefit of using GSAP and how it's a lot easier to control, much smoother animations. So.
Yeah, do one in GSAP and then do one in CSS, because one of the big hurdles that you're going to encounter is chaining together different animations. Whereas in GSAP, you can just create a timeline, add an animation, then add a new one, and it's going to start running as soon as the other one ends. So in CSS, you're going to need to do a lot of calculations, create your classes or keyframes, and then, okay, how much do I need to delay this? How much? So they all
It's a lot more thinking. I think it would be better just to take a little bit of time just to understand the basics of GSAP. Again, you don't need to go through the whole documentation. If you have an idea of what you want to do, it's easy enough to navigate to the specific parts in the docs and just play around with it. It's so much less thinking, isn't it? It's really easy just to put something together.
And soon enough, if you start doing a bit more complex animations, you're just going to get stuck, especially if you want to do scroll-based stuff, right? How simple it is in GSAP to just add a scroll, scroll to or whatever it's called. I forgot the name of it. But you just add a scroll thing, right? And then it just automatically calculates.
Scroll trigger, isn't it?
Scroll trigger, yeah.
We started with the cookie animation because it's like a nice small project. It's something that all websites have. And usually they're known for being really boring or annoying. And we thought it was an opportunity to show how you can turn something like that into something fun. It shows off who you are, what your brand is, whatever it is that you're trying to show. You can add a bit of humor and make every bit of your website an enjoyable experience for the user.
That's a great point, because usually when you go on websites and you see a cookie pop-up animation, your first impression is like, oh, get it off quickly.
They're always ugly as well. They're always ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really ugly. So if you have a nice little, like, fun, bubbly, nicely designed pop-up, I feel like that's quite nice. And a lot of users are going to enjoy it. So that's how we made it. Yeah, every website has it pretty much, right? So I think it's a great start. So the next project that we covered is a text reveal. That's what it's called. We were a bit uncreative with the naming, but this project is specifically made for you to understand how text animation works. And because I mean, most websites are like 50% text at least, if not more than that. So I feel like it's important to know how to animate text and how to also animate individual characters, because that comes into some nice animation. So we have one, I'm going to put it up here so you guys can see it. And another interesting thing, that's the transition. GSAP has quite a few plugins in there. I'm sure I showed you a couple of them. One of them is animating individual texts. And they also have like the morph SVG, you could just take two SVGs and animate them between them, which is quite cool. But they're paid. So I felt like this was a great opportunity to recreate one of the plugins in a free way. Wow, GSAP's going to hate me after this, I know.
Don't tell GSAP.
Don't tell GSAP. So we're going to do a vanilla JavaScript version of how to animate each individual characters, but still with GSAP. So we're going to get around that. And yeah, this one is just a super fun, also quite short project that's gonna just flex your skills a little bit. I always think that's such a cringy thing to say, so I'm not sure why I said it. But so the next one that we did was the form.
Yeah.
So one of the main reasons why we did a form was, oh gosh, there's not any nice forms there on the internet, is there?
There's really not any nice forms.
It's such a big struggle to find a full form that looks nice. Sometimes you don't get me wrong, you do get nice code pens that have nice inputs and like fancy animations that look really great. But it's so rare to find a full one where they also have like a checkbox that's nicely made or like a drop down that's nicely made. You know, it's generally kept quite simple. So what we really wanted to focus on is creating a beautiful form with some nice movement to it. So one of the things we really loved is creating like an elastic band effect. So we do that all with just GSAP and a bit of SVG. So here it is if you want to see it, but very, very clean, very simple, minimalistic, and
but also I think this project is really nice for showing how you can use animation to sort of assist the user in a more fun way. So for example, like when you would type in your name or your email address and it didn't meet the requirements, you're seeing that visually that it doesn't meet the requirements. It's sort of guiding you through the form with the movement. So
exactly. And I also like to add to this and say, when you click in the form, you don't necessarily need to have that outline that the form is selected, so you can get a bit creative with it. So what we decided to do is for the elastic band to actually hit up the placeholder effect and then to show you that you're inside the input. All right, so it doesn't need to be a boring outline every time, as long as it shows to the user what's happening and it's clear what's happening and their actions. I feel like that's enough.
Yeah, and I think like for accessibility, taking out the outline as well. But we did put a screen reader on and tab through it, and as long as you have all the right sort of basic HTML and labels, and it doesn't affect the accessibility.
Exactly. Oh, and also we thought it's be a fun way to have like a little character at the bottom of the form, and when you complete the form, rather than having a boring like refresh or something and you don't know what's happening, you get a nice little message popping up saying, hey, thank you for submitting, we'll get back to you, and you also get a little wave from the SVG character. I feel like that adds a lot of personality to it.
Cute.
And it's really cute in general.
So the next project we did was focusing on micro animations. So we feel like it's something that's overlooked a lot of the time, and it's a really nice touch to a website to indicate to the user when they're interacting with an element.
You know, it's quite funny because when a lot of times on Spotify, I believe a while back they had the heart button, which when you clicked on it, it would just fill in, indicating that you like the song, right? So yeah, which is fine. That's what you're gonna see most of the time when you click on buttons or stuff like that, just like a highlight of it and like a different background color. Or they do an inverse where they have maybe a blue button, right? And the text is white, and then they inverse it. But recently they changed it and they added like a little jumperoo thing to it. Just something like a little micro animation to it.
A jumperoo.
A jumperoo to it.
That's a technical term.
Yeah. And I remember just being so excited and just wanting to like songs just to see it over and over again. So I feel like it just adds a... Well, that sounds a bit
really
silly.
Cool.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
Maybe I'm the only one excited for that. Maybe the normal user. But I do feel like it's like, ooh, that was cool, right? So, yeah.
I think it's something I always notice as well. Like when we went on Uber Eats the other night on the phone, and they had loads of cute little animations, and I was like, oh, look at this! Remember?
It just adds more to the experience, and it just feels like they took the extra time to polish their app or website.
It just feels like nice and modern, and again, it just sets you apart. Like we were saying, if you're creating a lot of static websites, it's these small touches that set you apart from the more boring ones.
Exactly. Micro animations.
Let's go like this. Micro animations.
So the next project that we built was PurpleJS, which lets you do page transitions. Now, how do we feel about PurpleJS? Just to be completely transparent.
It's not as nice as GSAP, is it?
It's
by a long shot, in my opinion.
So from our experience, using a framework like React or Svelte or anything else, it's very easy to do page transitions because not only some of them have it built in, but you have these great libraries. It's just easy to switch a component with another without too much logic going behind it. But with vanilla JavaScript, it gets a bit more complex. I don't feel like the libraries are that good out there. The main one being PurpleJS. I know there's a couple more out there, but I personally looked at it in the past, and I still felt like maybe Barba was the best when it comes in terms of like finding a solution out there on the internet and just in terms of documentation. But that's what we use for the course, just to give a vanilla JavaScript version of it. And why would we use page transitions rather than having a page refresh in the first place? Well, I do feel like it adds a little bit more. It definitely gives that app feel to it, which is something that we're just more and more used to, right? Having a hard refresh is not as pleasant to the experience, to the user experience. I never liked on websites when things just jump all of a sudden. I feel like that's completely unnatural. So last but not least is probably one of the most exciting projects in this course, which is the Apple Remake. So here's a quick preview of that. And oh boy, have we done quite a bit in here, haven't we?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this was a really big project, but super exciting. Like we loved making every single bit of it, right?
I feel like if you haven't been excited for the course so far, I think this will definitely get you, because there's so many small elements to the website and all of them are so different.
They're so different.
All the
so much variety, right?
Yeah, the variety, and all of them are completely unique. So you get the text fading in and fading out, and the carousel with the products updating. It's just so much to it. I feel like it's.
I think this project as well, if you have this in your portfolio, it's gonna wow anybody who looks at it. It is just,
I don't mean to go back to this, but I do want to emphasize that if you take a look, it's a lot of nice pictures basically that make up this website, right, and gives it that professional look. So a lot of nice pictures. We also have a little 3D animation there in Blender, which I do show you in the course how to quickly put it together. Again, it's not like a full in-depth Blender course. It's just covering that specific one. But again, as you can see, most of this is made possible, and it looks great just because of having some nice images and 3D.
Yeah, like the initial material you need to create such a powerful website is really minimal.
I feel like you'd be really surprised how quite compact and clean the code is for each individual section. It's probably like 50, 60 lines of code, maybe even less for each one. So yeah, so that's kind of how we put together the course, which is still available down below. So please use the coupon code if you're interested in purchasing it. And yeah, what else have we been up to? We've been experimenting a bit with Svelte.
Yep, we've been using Svelte. We were doing a few projects in Vue, weren't we? And then we sort of heard about Svelte and decided to take a look into it, see how it varies from Vue and React and other frameworks. It's something that's being talked about a lot just now. And yeah, we're really enjoying it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So one of the main reasons why we looked at it is we want to rebuild our website, our platform. So we're going to relaunch it hopefully by the end of this year. We don't have a timeline yet, just because we want to make sure we kind of test the waters with multiple things out there to get a good idea on how we can put it together. But that's something that we're thinking about here on this channel. So yeah, Svelte has been absolutely amazing, hasn't it?
It's really easy to learn. I think it's like you don't need to worry about like JSX or anything like that. It feels much more natural, like you're just writing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The templating is really nice.
Yeah, I always was so surprised that React caught on the way it caught on. I always thought like the component structure was just so gross, because you essentially just have a big JavaScript function that you stick everything in there, right? So a big JavaScript function where you have your HTML and your CSS and your JavaScript kind of all jumbled up there. How nice it is just to having a script tag, a HTML tag, and a CSS tag. It just keeps it so clean. Not to mention, like, if you want to do scoping or stuff like that, you have to, like, in React, you have to resort to a third-party library like styled components. But then again, even if you use styled components, then you have basically a JavaScript component where you have your HTML, CSS, blah, blah, blah. And then you need to have a separate component where you only have the styling. So it's still not as nice as just having 3 clean scripts out there. So that's for me, that's the biggest thing.
The routing as well is really easy.
Really
nice and easy just to make new routes to new pages.
Again, it's you get into this where you end up installing stuff more with React and kind of do more dev work than actually building something out. So again, like you said, with the routing, so for routing in React, you would have to install React Router, then import the link tags and set up the whole browser route and switch and all of that crap. But with Svelte, it's just like anchor tag.
An anchor tag.
href and
that's it. It's nothing downloading anything. It's no extra tools. It's really, really simple.
So SvelteKit is still in like alpha or beta, unfortunately. We do feel like there's not that much out there on the internet. If you run into problems, it's quite new. You're gonna find stuff on Svelte, but not really on SvelteKit. I mean, there's a couple of videos. It is more playing around yourself, but because it's so easy to put something together, it's really easy to play around and get to know it yourself. So we'll probably do some videos, right? How funny. I feel like most of the time we just tried out stuff and we kind of got it figured out just because it's
really intuitive, I feel like it is. And whilst it doesn't have much on it just now, it has just got a bunch of funding, right? The company's gone behind it. So I think it's going to be something that really grows in the future.
And we're going to cover it here on the channel. So in the coming weeks, we're probably going to make some Svelte tutorials. So that's going to be it for us. Just a little bit of a talking video. Hope you enjoyed it from us here. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon with some Svelte.
With some Svelting.
Tutorials, and I'm gonna make Ed post every Friday.
Oh yeah, we're gonna post every Friday.
We're gonna get more on it now that Christmas is
officially done.
New Year's over.
No more excuses.
The course is done. We're ready. We're ready to roll up our sleeves. They're already rolled.
All right, guys.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.